Okay. Hello, hello. Wow. Nope. No feed. Oh, wait. Oh, it's coming on. It's coming on. Come on. Let's see that video. Yeah, no, well, it's the volume's muted. Okay. Let's see if we can get some video in here. All right, we are live.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes.
Fantastic.
It'll take a little bit to catch up on the feed, but all right.
Okay.
We are live. Hello, everybody.
All right. Yeah, this is Ugly Old Goat. And sorry for the technical issues, but we've got a special guest today, and that's Max Hillebrand. And actually, excuse me, he was going to be featured as a speaker on the Working Man's Bitcoin Cruise, and had him all booked and everything, and I don't know what happened, but things didn't work out. So you missed on what may be the first and last Working Man's Bitcoin Cruise, because they may not have cruise ships after this COVID thing. But
no, you're absolutely right. I saw some of the videos, and for sure this was a superb event, it seems. So I'm sorry that I missed this one, but hopefully soon we're going to have international cruises and hopefully many boating accidents all over the place.
I'm going to tell that story. What's the inside joke about the boating accidents? There's a story to that, and I'm really not that familiar with it. So do you want to bring me up to speed?
You know,
Please, Max.
The thing is that many Bitcoiners have fucked up their privacy, basically, and have revealed themselves to the world with the attribute that they own a bunch of Bitcoin. And that's a bit not too good if others know that, because that makes your targeted attack, right? So then the idea is to fake a tragic boating accident that happened to you while sailing on your yacht on the Mediterranean Sea. And unfortunately, at this tragic boating accident, you lost all of your Bitcoin private keys. So now you are no longer a Satoshi billionaire, but just a humbler stacker of small sats.
Humble taco pleb.
All right.
That's right.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this. Tell us a little bit. You've got an upcoming conference yourself. You want to tell us a little bit about this and what are you up to now? I remember I saw you regularly on World Crypto Network. It seems like so many people get their start there, and then they all move on. So where have you moved on to?
And please, everybody, share the link and tell everybody about it, because our usual channels, we couldn't come out there. So hit that like button and share the link with everybody. Go on, Max.
Yes. So there, education is a really, really important tool, and creating videos for me was really nice, because I like to speak, and I think that I'm rather good at explaining stuff on a verbal level. But I noticed while doing a lot of videos for the WCN that it is difficult to kind of keep a high quality standard of the content that is out there, because of two things. It's very difficult to get peer review, right? Just like right now, we're doing a live stream and we're just blabbering, and frankly, we're going to make a bunch of mistakes, and nobody will tell us about it before we publish the content. And second is that it's very difficult to edit the video after the fact, right? So once something is published, you can't just fix some mistake that you made in the video. And this was something that I was lacking, and that I was looking for. And so that next project, after doing a bunch of videos, was to focus specifically on technical documentation in a written form for software. So that was specifically the Wasabi Wallet documentation at docs.wasabiwallet.io, which I started about a year ago, a bit more, and by now has over 30 contributors, and is really thriving, and by now a book worth of really high quality knowledge about Bitcoin privacy in general and why it matters, as well as then using Wasabi and Bitcoin best practices in general to fix the mistakes of the past, right? And to, again, exercise the power to selectively reveal yourself. And this is what we tried to get into Wasabi documentation, now on a written extent. And that's where I really like that editing process and that collaborative work, because I make a bunch of typos and a bunch of grammar mistakes. So it's nice to have someone look over it and make it pretty.
Yeah, the peer review process and and the sort of that kind of culture of quality and open collaboration and open source is very interesting, and you've always stood out to me as somebody that was a very sort of clear and strong advocate for it. I'm actually looking forward to learning some of the customs of this world. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, like open source and the way that's working out, and then we'll sort of hop over to the conference, or maybe we should talk about the conference first.
I think let's keep on the DevNet, because I think again it's also very applied to the Hackers Congress, which we can talk a bit about later, because the Hackers Congress specifically is a crypto anarchist organization or event where the ethos of free software is ingrained to the core, and I personally am a huge fan and supporter of the fundamental principles that free software underlies in, which is basically non-scarcity of ideas. Right, so there's scarce goods and there are non-scarce goods, and they're fundamentally different. A scarce good is one that has a potential conflict over who can control it because it is exclusive. So it's like a pair of shoes. Either Juan steps in the shoes or Ugly, but they can't both be in the same pair of shoes at the same time. Right, so it's exclusive, it's scarce. There's a rivalry. And this is why we need property rights and prices to allocate these scarce resources throughout time and place. And this is where entrepreneurial action comes in, and all that study of economics and praxeology. However, non-scarce goods, right, are goods that are not exclusive. Goods that, when given to someone else, you don't relinquish the utilization of it. Like, for example, words, right, or ideas. Words that I speak to you right now, they don't belong to me. That it's not that when I give them away, that I no longer have them, right? I still remember the words that I've spoken, but you now know them too. So they are non-scarce, right? And this is fundamentally different. There's no potential rivalry and no potential conflict over who can control these non-scarce goods, because everyone who wants to utilize this non-scarce information can just have it without any expense. And this is why economics does not apply to non-scarce goods. And therefore, like that aspect of free software really crystallizes that down, right? Everyone is free to copy the idea, right? To fork the code and to change it and to modify it, right? And to tell a different point of view to the story, basically. Everyone is free to do that inherently, because nobody owns information. Nobody owns the property rights in the software. That doesn't make sense fundamentally, logically, based on first principles.
Information wants to be free.
That's it.
What's your view then of like copyrights and trademarks? Can you put that into context?
It very much depends on how you define them, and there's a lot of nuances in the point of view here. In general, again, I'm very strict here on that separation between scarcity and non-scarcity. So if there is a private property contract over a scarce resource, right, then that is enforced, and if you break it, that is illegal. So for example, if you enter a business agreement with another peer and you say, okay, I will tell you my trade secret, but only under the condition that you don't tell it to anyone else, and only when you fulfill that condition that you keep it a secret will I pay you, right? So this is the condition of getting paid. You exchange that expertise that you have in understanding the subject, including the secrecy about not sharing this information with anyone else. You exchange that for monetary value. So the monetary exchange or the praxeological exchange that is happening here is not information or secrecy for money. Rather, it's like you exchange the services that you provide, for example, consulting and the secrecy keeping, in exchange for Bitcoin. And then when you break that contract, when you share a secret that you contractually, voluntarily agreed upon not to share, this is where you violate private property, not by the fact of sharing the information, right? Because nobody owns the business idea, right? Nobody owns a good way to make money. And this is just information, but you violated the property in the Bitcoin that this other party paid you for that service. So in fact, you broke the contract that said that you will keep the secrecy, and so you took the Bitcoin from that guy without actually upholding your part of the bargain, and therefore that is theft. So you didn't steal information, but you stole money, right? And that is some nuance here with trademarks and copyrights and these types.
Well, yeah, and there's in the current environment, there's it all works in terms of licenses, right? There's MIT license, and then there's variety of different licenses for the software, and that's kind of how it sort of settled. It's like when you publish software, you determine the terms under which it can be used, so non-commercial or commercial or this or that, right?
Yeah, I still think that these free software licenses are kind of a creature or a result of the state, in the sense that in a free society without this draconian enforcement of intellectual property rights that the state enforces his monopoly and violence on, I think that free software would be quite different, because it's kind of the natural state of things, right? If someone tells you something, you know the information, done, that's it, and you can do whatever you want with that information. Anyone who would limit you in the way that you can utilize that information is actually limiting you in the way that you can allocate your scarce resources, right? So if someone prevents you from singing a song or from writing a book, then what's actually being prohibited is that you utilize your own body, right, to produce the song, or that you use your own paper and your own ink to write down a text. So the theft that is happening is always on scarce goods, never on non-scarce goods.
Your subscription.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the way I've decided to handle it, and I don't know.
And in your case, Dudley, this is a private property contract over scarce trades that are happening here, right? So there are two sides to the trade. The first is, of course, the monetary reward that you get for the service, and the second is the service that you provide, which in your case is curation of information, right? Education in a tailor-made fashion, so that your audience understands it over a longer time horizon. And that is what you're selling. Your time, right? Not necessarily the information, and again, you can put a covenant, a restriction basically in that contract that you've negotiated that says, okay, give me money and I give you these services, and this caveat can say, if you share these services with someone else or this knowledge with someone else, then I will stop doing business with you in the future, or you could even put a penalty on top of it.
That's what we do with our subscriptions. I didn't know how to do it. It seemed like the logical thing to do, so that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, so far you haven't had any problems.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very powerful what open source has created. You know, it's got when it works, and it seems that it works fairly well. I mean, as far as I can tell, it creates a sort of pool of shared resources and information sort of resources and software that industries can sort of build around, and it solves a variety of sort of potential problems. So
this is such a great point, Juan, because so I'm an economist and praxeologist, so I always have this kind of tilted point of view. But on that point of view, information is basically just a tool that is used in resource allocation. So if you know how to use something properly, if you know how to use it productively, right, that improves the profit that you can make throughout these production stages. So information is just a strategy. It's a tool that entrepreneurs use. And the more and the better the quality information that the entrepreneur has, the better he can base his own value judgments and his future allocation of resources on whatever information he has. So that aspect that entrepreneurs are sharing this information with others, right? So, for example, one entrepreneur writes a software that helps him with his accounting, for example. And he's like, well, I can share copies of this information to anyone else. The software is free to use at no expense to myself. So then others start using this too. And they also, by using this more efficient accounting system, get a benefit in their resource allocation and can achieve the same goals with smaller means, or they can achieve bigger end goals with the same means, right? So basically there's more capital. There's value being created by this information being shared. So this is why that aspect of free software, in my opinion, leads to such a prosperous outcome, especially on the long term, because every individual becomes more knowledgeable about how to invest his own time, and division of labor becomes much more adequate and fruitful. And that's why.
I think the benefits are very clear, and a lot of great stuff has been built on it. By the way, we should say that Alena Vranova unfortunately couldn't make it today. She's running around probably trying to make sure that the Hackers Congress goes well and all. So unfortunately she couldn't make it, but we'll have her on probably after the event and maybe talk to her a little bit. She's a great entrepreneur and had a lot to do with Trezor and so on. Max, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Paralelni Polis, and let's talk about the event itself and some of the offers that you guys are going to get into. But let's start with the story because it's a very interesting location. I got to visit it in 2017, and I mean, there's so much to say about it. It's a wealth of knowledge. I was kind of humbled by the quality of the guests and speakers at the event. So maybe tell us a little bit about the history. Hopefully the feed will come through. We're having a lot of issues. The feed is being real buggy, but if it doesn't work out well, then we can maybe do another show. Take another shot at it later on.
Let's hope that work out. So a bit to the history of Paralelni Polis. That entire concept comes from the 1970s, where in 1978 there was a Soviet tyranny in Czechoslovakia, and there were individuals who strived for freedom and to express themselves adequately. So they opted out of this first realm of surveillance and tyranny that the Soviets created, and created parallel societies, literally parallel polis, right? And these were places where you could make art, where you could dance and play music, and drink and do your free exchange and have fun, basically, without being harassed by anyone else. That concept was very successful to provide freedom to individuals throughout the tyranny that happened in this time. And that's why I think even today, it can be a very successful strategy, actually. And in 2014, several individuals in Prague, from both an artist group, Saifedean, as well as the Institute of Crypto-Anarchy, collaborated to manifest a, let's say, revival of the strategy in the modern day, and to adapt it to modern day thinking and modern day technologies. So this is what Paralelni Polis in Prague is. It started in 2014 with a Bitcoin coffee, which was a place where individuals could meet securely and privately and do their business and have fun, right? And where they could get coffee. And Paralelni Polis was the first place to ever demand to exclusively be paid in Bitcoin. You cannot pay with fiat shitcoins at Paralelni Polis. They don't have a bank account. They don't work with governments in any case, in any circumstance. It is a purely opt-out parallel society. And it's beautiful because it attracts really these rigorous first principled individuals who actually care about their freedom and want to manifest it today. It's not a talkers club. It's really a doers action, and that's what I like about it.
But it actually has its roots under when Czechoslovakia was under Soviet rule. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. 1978 was when Václav published that idea.
Yeah,
which
was born out of communism, which is great. Survived it.
Yes, exactly. It really was an applied strategy against like a huge adversary of such a tyrannical bureaucracy, and it worked. It really did work. It was a very successful strategy, and I do believe that the strategy of opting out, of building your own society, of taking that responsibility of yourself, is a very successful strategy. And for me, Bitcoin is exactly that. Bitcoin is a opted out parallel society in the monetary sense. Right? We just neglect fiat and say that this is no longer valid. We do not adhere to these rules. You do what you do. We're not going to try to burn down the fiat empire, although the consequences of Bitcoin succeeding is that the fiat empire collapses naturally, and that's good. But still, you do you. You can continue demanding to be paid in fiat and hold your wealth in the fiat shitcoin. Do it. But I'm going to build Bitcoin, and I'm going to demand to be paid in Bitcoin, and I hold my wealth in Bitcoin. And this is how I manifest myself on a monetary level. It is a parallel economy.
Yeah, and I like to emphasize when the way I teach Bitcoin, I keep it real simple. I go hodl, save, and build it. And building is really an important part, but it doesn't mean you have to have a YouTube channel promoting Bitcoin or write a newsletter or make trade suggestions. You might have a car wash, or you might be a carpenter or a bricklayer. You can have any trade or any kind of business and adopt it to that. And that's essentially what was going on, under the Soviet system. It wasn't, because you didn't have Bitcoin, you were able to distinguish. It was really a social thing more than anything. And that's what's happening is, I've always put it this way: there's only really two kinds of entrepreneurs in the world: those that have Bitcoin and those that don't. And the next big move in Bitcoin is going to be fueled as more and more entrepreneurs hop on board, because we are the movers and the shakers of the world. We are the producers, and we are the wealth creators. And there's no doubt about it. We don't. Sometimes they flop about 80 or 90% of the time, but those 10% that work, we are, that's what makes us productive.
Absolutely.
And so that's why if you're listening to this and you don't really understand what Max is talking about, he's talking over your head, don't be concerned about that, because what you do is develop your own self on your own level where you're at. There's no way I can run my business anymore because all the technology changed. So that's why I have Eddie here, because he knows how to run all of this. I used to do it all by hand, and all under analog telephones. Now it's all digital and VoIP, and it's a whole different ball game. But the principles are the same, and that's what you do in business. I mean, everything has the technology changed, but the principles of doing business are the same. And what we have now is a sound money, a sound unit of account that can make sense out of a world that's just increasingly chaotic. And that's where entrepreneurs are just going to naturally migrate to Bitcoin. It's an unstoppable event.
Absolutely. Smash that like button, everybody. That was a great commentary, Ugly. Smash that like button and share this video with everybody. I know that the feed is the video is not great, but it's very important conversation, and I believe the audio is coming through well enough. Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of where it comes down to. And one of the things that I kind of realized in the creation of this show and writing sort of a description of what we were going to talk about is that we don't, privacy isn't a legal fiction. It is not something that we need to fight the state for. I mean, yeah, we might want to push on that front anyway in parallel, but it is something that is yours as it is a requirement for freedom. If everything you do is surveilled and then systematized and potentially punished, depending on if it's this behavior or that behavior, from the top to the bottom, then you don't have freedom. You have the illusion of freedom. So privacy is a requirement for it, and you need to rip it off their hands if necessary. And that's what I really like about Paralelni Polis. You guys are going to be teaching people how to do this, because it's not easy to do. It really isn't easy. But you guys have the expertise and technology to teach people. And so I'm very excited about this conference. Tell us.
No. So you're absolutely right, Juan. I would like to hammer home on that point, that privacy, that aspect of privacy, is so inherently linked to individual freedom. Like it is so closely tied to the first principle. And again, I'm a praxeologist, so we'll start with first principles. The one only assumption that I have is that individuals exist. Right? That's an assumption. I cannot prove it. Another assumption would be collectives exist and individuals don't exist. I think that's a horrible assumption on many reasons, but that's a different combination. So I assume individuals exist. Right, and this means that they manifest in their bodily form, and this is a scarce resource. Right, so scarcity follows individuality, because only one individual can inhabit one body at that time and control it. And there's a rivalry. Right, I'm not in Ugly's body, and that's a good thing, right? Because he's an individual, or not a collective. So this is where scarcity comes in, and then we have the isolated individual who just exists on an island. Right, and he has that aspect of he's in a state of uneasiness, and he wants to improve the situation, and he envisions in this creative spark of entrepreneurial genius, he envisions a potential in the future where he is better off than he's currently. Right, and that aspect of envisioning something and having multiple priorities with different options and outcomes, and that is what entrepreneurials do. And that aspect to choose what to do, to choose how to manifest yourself, to choose which ends to follow, what problems to fix, right? That is so inherently that aspect of individual freedom, is this exact choice. And in the context of the economy, of multiple individuals interacting, right, then all of a sudden one of these choices involves, how do I act towards other individuals? How do I reveal myself as the individual to someone else? What words do I speak? Right? How do I act? How do I allocate my resources around them? Where do I move around these other people? These are all questions of choice. And privacy as a concept is to selectively reveal oneself to the world. And that is that aspect of choice. And this choice of privacy is so inherently tied to human freedom as it possibly could be. That's why it's so important.
Yeah.
Where are the trade-offs? Let me give you an example. I mean, because I'm constantly battling this with Juan and my wife, and everybody tries to protect me because I'm kind of getting a little old and senile, and so they have all of this security. But I always make it a standing joke. The only thing the security does is keep me out, you know. And so, yeah, I'm all for privacy, but if I don't get it, what good is it going to do? So, you know, and that's sort of what I say. I kind of think what it takes. I mean, we can't eliminate trusted third parties from Bitcoin. That's my belief, and I'm sure there are people that completely on the other side that completely disagree with me. But for society to really, advance, there is an element of trust. And I see the one thing that Bitcoin does, it's reestablishing a morality that perhaps we've lost over the last 3 or 4 generations. And my mentor was E.C. Harwood. And when I asked him, well, what should I put on a gold coin with your likeness? He said, for integrity, there is no substitute. And so I say, you know what good is Bitcoin without integrity? Don't the two go hand in hand?
Wow. I think the more I hear you explain that, Ugly, the more I understand it. And I think you're right that there's sort of an ethos in Bitcoin, which is sort of trustlessness and integrity. Really is integrity. Like the flip side of a trustless economy and of a very paranoid culture that we live in Bitcoin. Is you need integrity, right? And this is why everything that smells fishy is by default a scam until proven otherwise. So I think you have a great point there that is sort of a reestablishment of integrity as a culture.
But it's trust and verify. So
trust and verify.
So we can't forget that.
Well, it's trust but verify. Huh? It's trust but verify. Okay. Well, there's multiple variations. I think the original one was like don't trust, verify. I like so it was don't trust, verify. That's sort of the original one. I like sort of trust but verify, So
I like the German translation. I like the German translation of this here, which is Kontrolle ist gut, Vertrauen ist besser. So Vertrauen ist gut, Kontrolle ist besser. So trust is good, but control or verification is better. So yeah. I think that actually defines it quite nicely. And what Ugly said with that being true to integrity, right? And that is being true to first principles, right? That's why I always hammer this point home, is if you don't know your first principles, if you don't know your assumptions, your axioms, then you don't have any integrity, right? Because your system is not based on any sound fundamentals.
Mm. Well, and we all have mentors and people, particularly, we see it in Bitcoin all the time, that disappoint us. And rightly or wrongly. And a lot of, we say, well, how can he take this position type of a thing? And yet, I guess there's varying degrees because depending upon, how badly the violation is. So there is a judgment call on some of these things, someday I might go off the rails. And in that case, people are justified, in not trusting me.
You see, and that's skin in the game, and that's another aspect that is important in the context of privacy, right? When you attribute yourself to multiple actions, like we do when publicizing our identity to these videos that we create, then this builds a long-term relationship and a long-term record keeping, basically. And the longer this goes on, the more intense it gets. It can be good or it can be bad. Right? In our case, hopefully our reputation grows and is prosperous rather than something negative. But that's why we continue working on it. And then that aspect of not or of choosing to reveal yourself here, to not stay anonymous, that builds a reputation and skin in the game. Right? So all of a sudden, when you screw up and you lose your reputation, right, it goes negative all of a sudden because you made an exit scam. Then this actually has a cost. There's a capital cost to you as an entrepreneur, and you lose something of your capital, that reputation, which is an asset. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to act under this identity, because it's skin in the game and it keeps me on my toes and sharp.
Right. Yeah, that's really good.
What is your background? I can't figure out what your English is excellent. So where did you learn your English?
Not in government school, that's for sure. Back when I was 5 or 6 years old, because my sister was actually struggling with English in government school, my mother, who's phenomenal, reached out to a friend of ours in the neighborhood, and he was this hippie Buddhist monk kind of thing, and he was great and lived a long time in the States and had a perfect English. So we met in his house and just talked. And that was fun. We had great conversations about pirates and freedom, and that was quite influential for me. And that's one of the main reasons why I think my English is decent.
But what's your primary language in German or?
Yes, German.
Okay.
Hmm.
I've always wanted to learn German because Conrad Jules Brown is undeniably German, and my father was born in 1913. And when he grew up, he only heard German until he was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's kind of an interesting story because what happened was that's when World War I broke out and the Germans were severely prosecuted, and the government actually came in, and of course they were German Lutherans. The government came in and ordered the Lutheran churches to change all their liturgy from German to English, which being good Germans, they complied and obeyed. But then they challenged it in the Supreme Court, and apparently they won the Supreme Court case, and that's why we have all these multiple languages now. The state, when we have these entitlement programs, we got to do the ballots in Spanish and Tagalog and Vietnamese and all of that, because you have to accommodate those people that don't speak English under the free speech clause of the Constitution. But it's just kind of interesting that that's how it got changed. It was the German Lutherans who basically set the precedent for today's. Again, it wasn't that big of a thing until we started the entitlement programs, and now under the entitlement programs, well, since you have a right to this income, you have a right to your health care. Everything has to be translated into 3 or 4 different languages.
Yeah, actually funny that you say that your father was born in 1912, because I think there was actually quite a monumental year. The year 1912, 1913, 2 major things happened. First, Ludwig von Mises in 1912 published a theory of money and credit, just a phenomenal book that he then translated to English. It was die Theorie der Umlaufmittel, des Geldes und der Umlaufmittel in German, and the theory of money and credit in English. And that was in 1912. Basically, it was a monumental achievement to explain monetary reasoning to such an extent, and it laid exactly out the consequences of central banking and increasing the money supply and inflating. And in 1913, the Federal Central Bank in America was created. Right? So just 1 year after, when they saw exactly how Ludwig Mises showed how much money you can steal when you increase the money supply and you control.
And the income tax, and the income tax was passed the same time.
Precisely.
They passed it was just going to be 1%.
Yes, and the Prussian education system, and the draft to the Prussian army, and the social welfare system that Bismarck initiated, all 1912, 1913 was quite a monumental time. I think that's when the First World War starts, and since then it never has ended. I consider it ended when both the federal central banks are abolished, as well as passports, because that shit was started back then too.
Wow. Well, I know my great-grandfather apparently got a draft notice back in the 1800s after he immigrated to the United States. Needless to say, he didn't show up to the Prussian draft board. But yeah, it's a very, very sad state of affairs. And it's so, guys, everything that we're witnessing today is very much generational. It was put into play, by my actually grandparents. The first beneficiaries, for example, of Social Security were my grandparents, and they voted themselves. And I think my grandfather just worked for a few years, paid in, but he lived to be 92, and he collected his Social Security every month. It was a great game. But that's and like I say, my mentor, E.C. Harwood, he identified the 3 greatest swindles in history as number 1, inflation. Number 2 is Social Security, and the 3rd greatest window is the SEC. So I think he pretty well nailed it. You can make a case for all three of those.
That's good. Very true, actually.
Yeah. We got a really good question here. A good girl on the actually no, it was Anna Leal on the chat is asking. She says, I was checking HCPP20, which is the website for the conference you guys are throwing, and some of the speakers and members are members of Bordel. What is this Bordel?
Oh, that is hilarious. Mario will love this. I will have to let him know. So, the Bordel is a certain room in Paralelni Polis. So in that building where the Institute of Crypto Anarchy is, and the Bitcoin Cafe, and the Paper Hub co-working space or hackerspace, there's a basement, and the basement is dark and scary. And there's one specific room without any windows, and that was just a storage room for the last multiple years. And it was always a mess, right? Because everyone just threw stuff in there and closed the door and never dared to go in again. And in the Czech language, a mess, like if something is messy and like all over the place, it's called bordel. And so over the years, this room just got the name of bordel, meaning it's a mess. Don't go there. It's a mess. And then recently, a couple contributors to Pull This cleaned up the space and rearranged it. And now it is a hackerspace. But it's still called Bordel. So that is now a great hackerspace with 3D printers, with great sound systems and sound engineering and all of this stuff. Workbenches and tools and everything is there. And it's just a fun place to hang around and do some nice stuff.
That's great. That's so funny. Yeah, good girl was saying in German that means brothel, so it's quite funny.
Precisely. And you can bet that at the entry to Bordel is a huge red blinking sign, neon sign. Bordel, go down to the basement.
Yeah, I think I was in the basement of Parallel Polis last year or 2017, and yeah, they had like a video studio. We were there. We
Remember the fishbowl, right? The fishbowl is still there. There's still an aquarium with like a nice sound installation and microphones and cameras everywhere, with like soundstage outside to edit it live. It's a beautiful studio. We're actually going to do media coverage there during HCPP. And so behind that room, behind that fishbowl is another room, and that is the bordel. So it's just a small room, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, well, I think we should cover some of the main topics here because we're trying to promote this event. So just so you know,
It seems that Ugly Antoine dropped. So hoping that the live stream still continues. Let me know. So the idea of the Hackers Congress this year specifically, because in the last years it was always in Meatspace, and in the beautiful city of Prague, in the heart of it, in Holešovice, where there is this beautiful building with the Institute of Crypto Anarchy and the Bitcoin Coffee, and two big stages, as well as the stage in the Institute of Crypto Anarchy. And there were always a bunch of individuals coming and visiting the place and just hanging out during the first weekend of October. And this has grown from just 50, 100 people to now 500, 700 people coming there in person. So quite a prosperous community, and hopefully it's going to further increase with the future. So, of course, the problem this year is the bureaucracy, because the tyrants decided that we are no longer free enough to choose where we can travel or not. And therefore, they're going to, basically harm us if we do. And most are not willing to take on that risk, so they won't travel. Therefore, we have a couple issues with not getting this information out to the right people because they are forbidden to come. Therefore, we are going to live stream we're going to share these stages and all these workshops and all these many talks to the people who bought the ticket and who come and show up in cyberspace in this event that is created in an interactive way. We want to continue to have that feel of a conference with interactions and speaking to each other and hanging out and side conversations that happen outside of the main stage. And this will hopefully be the goal of this year's HCPP. Okay, it seems that Ugly's computer crashed. Check if the live stream is still on. Let's see, are we still live? Yes,
Check.
we are. Okay.
Mic check.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
computer literally just froze. Like it's just stuck. You are looking very, very thoughtful on our screen, but everything else is just entirely frozen. So I apologize,
Yeah.
everybody. It's definitely not a good tech day. The stars just not be aligned, or maybe they're just hacking us, man. They're fucking with us.
Yes. They're trying to
Test
hinder
them.
the information. Yes, the digital totality is upon us, which funnily actually is the theme of this year's Hackers Congress, digital
That's
totality. And I think it's quite a fitting theme this year, because we've seen how the fascist empire, as it has manifested over these last couple of months, is actually a tyranny that affects every single individual on this planet to an absolute extent. So it's quite shocking. So there's a certain pain point for everyone, right? Who now realizes that the situation is quite dire, and we have tools and technologies to defend individuals. And this is then right what the HCPP is about: to arm yourself against the digital totality and defend your property.
And I mean, I think we've seen it with this COVID response. The first thing that the powers that be did was say, "Oh well, we gotta track everybody and make sure that nobody's hanging out with anybody, right? And we gotta enforce social distancing, or at least track it so that it can be enforced after the fact." Like, it was just total power grab, and I mean, the science behind it is questionable, and the morality of it is definitely questionable. A lot of this stuff is unconstitutional in the United States, and it's going to get fought in the Supreme Court, assuming that there is a Supreme Court after this election. So, it's really bad, and I mean, I hope that the governments and the powers that be in society kind of gets shit together, but we can't really depend on that entirely. We have to do what we can to take it back.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're back.
We are back. Echo. All right.
All right, Eddie, bail us out. What was the problem?
I reset it.
There he is.
Still no video.
Can you?
We're getting there.
Okay, my check would be good.
Oh, you guys are on Jitsi, huh?
Swipe up.
It should be.
And you're back.
Yeah, we're back. Incredible.
There you.
Yeah, but no. So exactly, this is what the topic of HCPP is about. And there are several strategies or like presentation approaches that are going to be used this time. And there will be three main stages full of really phenomenal speakers and talks about all types that concern us here in this digital totality. I checked the speakers list at digital-totality.hcpp.zz. And here you will see just the incredible breadth of speakers that are lined up about most everything. I mean, we have encryption, anonymity in networks, of Bitcoin, of course, and other cryptocurrencies, or just privacy-specific things within Bitcoin, especially. Lightning Network is a lot of representation here. Also 3D printing, right? Or nomadism or other strategies to actually liberate yourself. So this is all going to happen here at HCPP on these three main stages, which I think is quite nice. And also there is one stage for workshops. So these workshops are for the sovereign individual to learn the tools to defend himself right now against this digital totality. So tailor-made, hands-on practical knowledge that can be used by individuals right now today to ensure that they can defend their property and are not being stolen from all the time and surveilled from. So very hands-on, very solid, and I think quite well structured and organized. Again, with I think 15 different hosts of these workshops providing awesome knowledge. And finally, and this is something where I'm happy to say that both John and Ugly are going to join us in the efforts, is a publicly accessible live stream called the HCCP TV. And here we will get a huge array of awesome podcasters together. I think by now the list is growing to 20 plus to co-host a public channel for anyone to join the conversation, both speakers or organizers or visitors. Anyone can drop in and have a nice conversation for as long as possible. Hopefully we can make it 24/7. And then just hang out and have fun at the conference. All of this will happen again on the 2nd till 4th October. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the first weekend of October. And it is going to be very interesting, both for the people who can show up in Meetspace, who can come to Prague physically and say kiss my ass to the politicians and the bureaucrats trying to stop that. And of course to the people in cyberspace who want to join without the hassle of travel. Can get the tickets at Digital Totality.hcpp.cz and participate in this online event, which I think is going to be quite superb. I'm not sure if the guys are back. Can you say anything?
Yeah, we're back. Can you hear us? Mic check, mic check.
Yes, but not see you.
Yeah, the video now it says failed to access your camera. So, against all odds, the show must go on, and so at least we're back in audio.
Fuck it, let's do it live.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Well, we can do this again.
Yeah, we
is
should
there
do
any
it
way?
again.
We've got all these facilities here, and that's why I'm trying to bring Juan in to help me out, because
we've been on a really good streak for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
We've been doing good shows, but today everything did not work out.
But
as
we
expected.
have,
But
I think maybe is it possible that we can invite people, and if they want to attend this conference, we can actually have a little hospitality here and hang out together.
I'm gonna be out of town
you're gonna be out
during
of
the
town
event.
that
I'm
way.
gonna be
Okay.
doing it out of somewhere else.
All right.
But I mean, you guys can definitely do that, and I can support you in whatever way possible.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah. So you're gonna be co-hosting. I'm gonna be co-hosting. Juan Galt and Ugly God are gonna be co-hosting with Max Hillebrand and a variety of other guests the live stream, which is gonna be going from October 2nd to the 4th. Is that right? And then
yeah, exactly. I still kind of hope that we can make it 24/7. I mean, that would be just insane, to have a non-stop broadcast during the Congress.
yeah.
But I'm kind of the one organizing it, and I'm kind of scared about the shit ton of responsibility that a 24/7 media live stream is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
For sure.
since we're all over the world, it really is possible, though.
I think it is possible. Yeah, it might be able to
I
pull
think
it
it's
off.
a good vision to have. I mean, it may not work the first time,
Yeah,
but
it might not work.
But
perfectly.
things are changing, and I think this could be groundbreaking as far as the way
Yeah.
future conferences.
Yeah,
are gonna
for
be
sure.
held.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really think so. It's, to be honest, it's quite a shitty situation. Like really bad for a conference organizer, because there's no uncertainty. First of all, almost nobody bought tickets. Like much less than in the years before. In the years before, the tickets sale was publicized, and the weekend after it was gone, right? And now we've like not sold multiple tickets, and even the individuals who bought a ticket, we can't even be certain that they will show up, right? It might just be that they can't travel at all, and thus it's very difficult to get any real numbers, or even if you're going to be allowed from the bureaucrats to do it in the first place, right? So a lot of uncertainty, and that really makes organizing this quite a hassle. But it also pushes us to innovate and to defend against this attack, because it's an attack. The bureaucrats are attacking us. It's a fucking war, right? So how do we defend ourselves? How do we keep going? We're not just going to give up. No, we're going to find solutions to the problems the bureaucrats throw in our way, and this is the way that we're going to do it here in cyberspace, with as interactive and as large and as impactful of a conference as possible, to educate why this tyranny is so devastating, and to give the tools on how to defend it and to stop it.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Keep it going. Yeah, you got 2 thumbs down. It's all right. It's barely 20% of the likes.
Oh, the
Well, that-
trolls are
All they
always there.
did was, I'd say that's not bad.
Yeah, that's 20 down, 80 up.
Because
Yeah.
we admit we're sorry for this production,
Yeah,
guys.
this was a
That's
rough
all we
one,
can
yeah.
do is sometimes shit happens, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that COVID caused diarrhea, but I guess in this case it is. Huh?
No comment. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Max, and everybody. You can get 50% off on the tickets. Again, so there's going to be educational workshops. This is one of the key things. There's going to be hands-on, practical, how-to based workshop. This is what my understanding. This is what Alena told me. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of like part of the big offer here. How's that going along?
So the workshops are actually quite huge. I really like that concept. Let me pull it up. Maybe I can even find out.
Yeah, please, if you can do some screen share of the website too, that'd be great. Because the guest list is incredible. There is, it's a ton of people, huge lineup of people. And please share this with everybody on those that are watching it. Please share this video. Please share the link. Please kind of look into this and tell people about it so we can spread the word. There's about a week and a half or so before the event happens, but the website will live on because it's digital, right? So this is the new era of conferences, is that they are digital as well as physical.
Yeah, everything's going to be moving that way.
Pretty much.
We're just we want to be active in the Latin America Bitcoin conference, and I know they're having to do. It's just going to be the wave of the future, and so. Bear with us. I think things are going to improve substantially after we all get through one of these.
Yeah, and then physical presence is going to become a luxury. Yeah. Private, like meeting up with people in real life. Wow, that's going to be worth money. So if you can get it, you make it happen. But
that's what I'm saying. I wonder if we can have like decentralized locations, like we have this location here, and just have. We do have to make it a social event. I mean, I think it is important to have a social event.
I agree. I really do.
Even though everybody can't travel. And I know where we are at, we do have pretty good free travel between Mexico and the United States. And apparently this week, I think today is the first day, I think, that now you don't need a green card if you just have a traveler's visa, you can go across the border. They have restricted that for the last several months. So like I rarely go across because my wife can't go with me because she's a Mexican citizen and she does not have a green card in the United States. So, but that restriction is being lifted now. So I think things are going to start getting easier. And I think there will be regional areas where people are going to be much more free to travel than, maybe internationally.
Yeah, I mean, this is a real reinforcement of the need for community
you have no problem
and locality.
Traveling in Mexico, right?
No questions asked. It's all good. No, national flights everywhere that I've seen have been pretty much fair game. It's international travel that's been difficult. But yeah, please tell us, show us the website, Max. Or were you having trouble with it? I can show it over here.
No, I got it. It's just some things aren't working because the website is still work in progress. We were hackers after all. So this is this is the manifesto right here on the screen, written by Smuggler, and it's so good that I'm just going to read it because it's worth it. So the manifesto of this year's Hackers Congress, at Paralelni Polis at the Institute of Crypto Anarchy, at Digital Totality. The transition between the old and known, and the new and the unknown increases. The third revolution of production is unleashing its power into an unstable and unsettled world. Metaphors, narratives, concepts, and explanations change and fail to grasp what is ahead of us. Information is power, and software, its embodiment, eats the world. While some cling on to the ideas and ways of the overcome age, the new is still too fresh to fully embrace. The old guard is building a prison of bits and bytes, drones, cameras, databases, and hostile AI. Their goal, to cement the old structure of power for eternity, while the masses continue to blissfully consume themselves. And that may not happen. It is up to us to chart the new waters, draw the map, tell the stories, and build the tools that will shape our future for lifetimes to come. Our time is now. Ready or not, the digital totality is upon us.
Wow,
All right.
It's like the movie trailer
that was powerful. Yeah,
being narrated.
that's right.
Rated PG-13.
Exactly.
It really is.
Voice is what I mean.
Yeah, you got a good
Sounds
voice.
like a thing, like a movie trailer.
That was epic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, like if the bureaucrats could slap a label on that, then for sure they probably would. I'm sure we're not supposed to share this.
Movies will be
You
made.
need to write somebody needs to write some music and put a little bouncing ball on that, and then we can all sing it together. You know, make it an international song or something.
Make it an anthem. The anthem of privacy and
Yes.
digital.
And you know, as you see here in the four main pillars: freedom and crypto anarchy, decentralized economy and cryptocurrency, political art and hacking, science and technology. The Hackers Congress is not a Bitcoin conference, although a vast majority of individuals going there are Bitcoiners. This is really a hackers and technology and crypto anarchy and freedom conference,
Right.
where Bitcoin is one of the prime weapons that we utilize to defend ourselves. But it's not a exclusive just Bitcoin conference as others, and I think that's one of the great strengths of HCPP. So that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, yeah. It's very it's bigger than that in a sense. It's about survival and about holding ground on some of these really important values that people they're just forfeiting them and they don't understand that they're walking off a cliff. When I had Peter Todd, we had Peter Todd on maybe last week, I believe, and it's like we are on a precipice, right? And all it takes is a political shift in a bad direction, and all this data can become weaponized real easy, and it's real dangerous. So, I mean, I'm taking a risk by talking about all this stuff, and you are, we're public. It's too late for us, but those that are out there listening, heed the warning, right? I mean, we're not just messing around. And a lot of these people are very serious about it and very knowledgeable about it. And it's going to be about survival if it gets bad enough, and hopefully it won't.
And that's also why it's important, I think, to build, local communities, because it will become more and more. And then those communities have to watch each other's back. There's going to be places in the world that are going to have more freedom than those other places. And those of us, who we just, my criticism of Ayn Rand and the virtue of selfishness is she misdefines selfishness, because selfishness is not looking out after your own interests. Selfishness is looking out looking out for your own interests without regard to others. And it's very important that and it's actually, she would never admit this, but it's actually biblically centered. It's the two greatest commandments are, love the Lord with all your heart. And the second commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. And so that means that we do look out after each other. And there is there's no virtue in selfishness, but there is a virtue of looking out for yourself with regard to others. And when you see another person, in need, then it is our responsibility to treat them as we would want to be treated. And that's the moral integrity that needs to reemerge. From basically about 4 generations of degeneracy, and it's going to take time. And it's probably it may not be this generation. We're all blind. Every generation is blind to their own sins. We can't see our own faults. Our children can certainly see them, but we can't. And that's where change comes. So it takes time.
And absolutely. And the strategy of Paralelni Polis is exactly to emphasize that. Right? It's a realization that, the individual is powerful, but on his own, he's not as powerful as he could be. Right? There's a lot more potential when individuals collaborate and share a common goal and allocate their resources together so to reach that. Right? They can build something greater than they could come up with themselves. That's division of labor. And the Paralelni Polis concept realizes this and understands that humans really have that urge to collaborate with others. And not just on an economical sense of like building a business and building products, but also just, you know, to get together to build art and to have fun and to have a good time. And this is where Paralelni Polis comes into, and this is where I think that specifically that group in Prague has exceeded, because really it is a very strong sense of community and a powerful friendship in between these people that I think is quite useful to well have. And I'm happy to be involved in that crew and you know, now help out with organizing the Congress.
What is the primary language spoken at that conference? Is it English or German or you know, multiple languages? What is the
specifically for the Hackers Congress? Everything is in English. There are some smaller events in Paralelni Polis throughout the year, and these might be in Czech or in Slovak, depending on the audience that is there. You know, if only Czech people are in the room, well, then speaking in Czech makes sense, right? Specifically because local content in the home language is quite important to have. So they do this throughout the year, but the Congress specifically is in English.
That's great. Yeah, you know, I had a dream maybe a couple of years ago, and the dream was that it was kind of dealing with the tensions of like individualism versus the sort of collective and so on. And the dream was that I was standing on a hill, on the top of a hill, and I could see as far and wide as you could imagine, and you know, standing tall and proud. And then, but then I noticed the edges of the hill around me started to crumble, and they started to crumble and crumble and crumble and crumble. And then all of a sudden, all I was left was me standing on, basically on a pillar on the size of a fist. And then that also crumbled, right? And then I fell, and that was sort of when I woke up. And what that means to me, what that dream is telling me is like, yes, individuality is powerful, but there is a kind of fragility to it, and that's where we need to basically kind of connect with other individuals and build a society. But I mean, it doesn't mean that you lose yourself in it. It just means sort of recognizing that there is a fragility. Like when you put everything on yourself, you're centralizing yourself in a sense. And the relationships that we build with people in the community, that we build locally and even globally, strengthens us as well. If you do it right. I mean, I understand that there's dangers to the collectivist side of things as well, but I found that really kind of really insightful dream. Oh, we lost your audio, Max.
Well, I should unmute myself. A Knut mistake. You know, that's totally true, because you know, also from the point of view that of the theory of the isolated individual, I mean, sure, you can survive, right? Sure, you can solve problems, but because you only have that limited capital of your own at your disposal, and specifically not much time, right? This is the main capital constraint that you will face. You just cannot live in much luxury and in you know, much prosperity. Doesn't mean that you are not going to be happy. You know, maybe you're completely fulfilled with living that minimalist, isolated lifestyle. But it has for sure trade-offs. And then that aspect of collaborating with others to reveal yourself to the world, right? To do that privacy choice of acting and collaborating with others and choosing with whom to collaborate and how to do it. That aspect is really, really important to individuality, again, because it increases the options and the potential and the capital that the individual has to manifest himself. And it's a very, very important part to live with any dignity. You know, to just to have shelter and regular food is really useful, but to do all of this yourself, it's really, really difficult. So this is where that aspect of division of labor and individuals collaborating together to build something greater is very important.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Max. I think we've had a great show, even though it was a little tricky, and we'll definitely have to do another show. We'll be on the live stream during the event, and we'll keep sort of promoting it and so on. Is there anything else that you wanna mention?
No, for sure. First of all, thanks for inviting me here on the show. That was really fun.
My pleasure. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. No, and hopefully again, it would be also great maybe to get a couple speakers here on the podcast eventually, so that they can spread a bit and your audience can
I have
listen
a
to what
question
these
for you,
smart
Max.
guys they have.
How
For
old
sure.
are you?
At 24.
24.
Nice.
All right.
Right
well,
on,
I'm
man.
very impressed for such a
Mm,
young guy.
sure.
I'm looking forward to a lot of big things from you. So you've got a good foundation. Don't blow it.
Yeah, I hope.
Drugs,
No,
kids.
but yeah, but that's the thing. We have a lot of shit to do, so there's no time to lose. Right?
Yeah, there's plenty of work.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Thanks again for coming on. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to see you both hosting on the HCPP TV,
Yeah.
and hopefully gonna see a bunch of the regular viewers that I know you have to come to the Congress as well and hang out in cyberspace in the chat rooms and have fun. And that will be great.
Excellent. Thanks, man. You guys have a great time there, and looking forward to it. So everybody, check it out: digital-totality.hcpp.cz. I think if you go to HC, so it's Hackers Congress Paralelni Polis, right? So
Yes.
HC like Charlie, PP.cz. Link in
You know
the
what? These checks
Yeah.
don't really get it that well done with the acronyms. Like HCPP, the IO and stuff. This is very confusing. But anyhow, it's fun. So yeah, thanks again. And again, just as a reminder for the listeners, with the discount codes Kuan Gold and Ugly Old Goat, you're gonna get 50% off the tickets to the live access to the Congress, which is I think quite a good deal.
50%.
Yeah, it's quite a substantial amount of sats that you're gonna save, and for sure the content is worth it.
Yeah, it'll be worth it.
All right, guys. So there you go. Is there a time limit on this? What is there a time limit on these orders?
Well,
You should put a time limit, for the 50% off. That's a just very secret thing in marketing is that you have to, you need to, when people want to come at the last minute, the price goes up. You're going to have to maybe put that
That's
into your marketing strategy.
While supplies last.
For sure, exactly. We might decrease that discount code to 30% in a couple of days.
Right.
There you go.
Get it while it's hot.
It's actually a really good idea, Ugly. I like it.
Guys, there's no affiliate code, so this is just a discount for you guys only. And so this proves to be fun. And who knows what's going to be. This Max has not promised, but he says this might be a 24/7 deal. And we're in a weird time zone here because in California, there's not too much. I think most of the Pacific Ocean watches this, but the rest of the world doesn't. So we have to adjust everybody else's time.
Yes. No, but actually, it's quite useful to have you guys over there in that time zone because that fills exactly when we are sleeping. So it's nice.
Take it over.
That's what we're for. Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, thanks, guys. It was a great conversation. See you soon on the next one.
Cool. Thanks, man. Take care. Say hi to everybody.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Bye.